took a different role, and enjoyed the journey of being a front-end developer. Today, it's gonna cover arrays in JavaScript. Let me share my screen before getting started. If you have any questions, feel free to put in a chat so that we can address those and then get more insight into the topic. Yeah. Okay, let's start with arrays. Yeah. Welcome to the module titled arrays, and there's a lot more that we can do with them, and there are brand new collections of class as well. Let's take a look at what these are, and we'll start off by looking at array extensions. These include the static functions added to the array, as well as the functions added to array.prototype. And also we will look at array buffers and typed arrays. And an array buffer is simply a buffer of bytes and byte type to arrays. We don't mean any kind of type to arrays. We specifically are talking about integer type of arrays, and that could be 8, 6, 32-bit integers, and there could be assigned and unsigned. And they're created by pointing the new type to an array buffer. So we will then see this how this works. Another thing we could do with an array buffer is set up to date of your object date of you, if you gives us complete control over how to access the array buffer. Not only we can work with the different size of integers and signs, positive or negative, we can also work with the Indian signs of numbers, like Indian refers to whether the significant bits are stored first or last in an array buffer. There are new two classes that we can use: map key value pairs and weak map. Normally any is fine. If you want to create a map, we would simply use an object. The property would be the key and its value would be the value of the key. And the difference with the new map object is that now we can use object as keys. You can't do this in a regular JavaScript object. And a weak map holds a weak reference to an object. When an object gets deleted, and there's a garbage collected and automatically gets removed from the weak map. And we also have a set and a weak set don't have a key value pair, and they just have a single values. And the set guarantees, and these values are unique and similar to the weak map. And a weak set holds a weak reference to an object. So when an object is garbage collected, it's get removed automatically by the JavaScript engine from the weak set. And we also take a look at a subclassing. Many programmers also want to be able to see a subclass array, and now we can see that with ES6. We can create our own class that may extension array, and we can actually do that with several other objects in ES6. We'll have a look into that so that we'll get started with this module and then get extended as an array. And then when we go to let us move to the other slide, is the array extensions. We have several extensions to the array object and ES6. So let us look at these. First of all, here is a problem with the CS5. Well, let's go to the other side. Let's salaries. It's an SQL array, and we will pass 90,000 with the programmer assume that 90,000 would be the salary that goes into array. Well, I got salaries that length. What shows in the console? Well, the length of the array is set to 90,000, and that's a quick with ES6, ES5 and arrays. If we pass an array just one value in the constructor, and that values is numeric, it will create an array, and that large and that not really expected. So now he has 6. We have an array of function. What do you think happens when we run this? What shows in the console? We get 1. So array dot is the new way to create an array, and it does the way that's quick. If we pass it with one numerical value, it creates an array that includes just one value. So it has a length of 1. And here we have a simple array amount set to 3 values. Yes, 6 has a new function for array dot, then we will pass it amount and we will pass it. The slant exception, it's an arrow function that goes to v5 to v plus 100, and then we'll get out the salaries. And then what it shows, like there's some problem with the screens which we are seeing over here. Yeah. And here we are having an array of 90,000, and if you show the array's length, it shows the salary's length, and it shows 1. Why? Because the array, whatever you are showing, what is that array length, it will show. And this, in the same way, we are showing here, and then here we are showing array dot from amounts, and we are writing a function, and then it goes and in individual amounts, it iterates through the arrays, and then the adjustment value is getting adjusted. And what do you think is being seen in the console? Like it shows for every individual, the array as a prototype, it has some functions, and then it iterates through the above array, whatever we have declared, and then the callback function will get called, and then it gets the individual first array, and then gets an adjustment will have the value 50. So it returns the back the salaries, and then every individual object within an array gets added the 50 value to the existing value, and then that can get added to the original array, and then that get listed over there. And we have an arrow function that does, it is an updated version with the ES6. Like in the top we are having a callback functions, but here with the help of ES6 we are then I'm seeing some question.
सर हिंदी में बोलिए ना, समझ में नहीं आ रहा है.
Hello. Hello, any queries? Like
ये मतलब कुछ words.
सर हिंदी में बोलिए, समझ में नहीं आ रहा है.
You want me to speak in Hindi?
Yes, हिंदी में बोलिए ना सर.
Yes, sir.
बिल्कुल भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा.
Yeah. We'll cover it. And I saw one person asking for ES6. Can you explain? ES6, it's an upgraded version, like the latest version, the ECMAScript, the W3 standards that the web browser as a console, they have come up with the latest standards that the JavaScript, whatever we write it in a latest version. ES5 is a previous version. With the ES6, the syntax and the protocol, whatever we cover while writing the JavaScript functions, is the latest version that improves the performance of the V8 engine, whatever the code we write, that the protocol and the syntax that we use gets updated with the key variables, with the for, map, and the collections with the ES6, that the JavaScripts technically is evolving with these jargons, and if we write the code with this, the performance also increases. If we want to get deeper and dive into the ES6, there are array functions, spread operators, all these things, we need to go deeper dive into that. That's it. That answers the question. And then Rahul Verma, did I answer your question? Yeah, that makes sense. And then I'm going to the next part is like we have, let us go to the every individual salaries, and then here the like we are having a pretty much bigger list of values, and let us go every individually one by one. And this fill is an inbuilt function that the JavaScript has exposed, and then if we fill this 900 to the original array, the bucket size of the salaries array gets filled with the value that we are passing, and that gets added to the original array, and gets, these are all the different methods that we have in a JavaScript array object that gets added and then get listed over there. And या ये क्या है, ये सैलरीज अरे है, उसको फंक्शन वाला प्रोटोटाइप डेफिनेशन रहता है, उस उसको इसके पैरामीटर पहले पैरामीटर को पास किया हो तो it get added to the second, what is the index that we are passing as an argument, हम पास करना है ना, वो उधर बीच जाता है, and then on in after that it gets added and then replicated over there. I'll try to balance between the Hindi and English so that everybody will can understand. And then when we go into the other format of the fill that we have over here, the salaries is an array, and then if we pass 1 and 2, and then that parameters will get added over there, and then that 900 will be passed only one time to that second parameters. And then I'm seeing the comments. Yeah. And then if we fill the 900 with the -1 and it gets the parameter whatever we pass कर रहा है fill object के लिए, वो index नहीं है तो at the end it will get appended and then get replicated over there. And then there are like a find, it's an ES6 with an array. If we find the value and then whatever the value that we pass, like the find is also iterating over the array. A find method है ना, a salary array से एक argument निकलता है और चेक करता है 750 वैल्यू को ज्यादा है या नीचे, एंड रिटर्न करता है एट द एंड इन द रिजल्ट। ये सब अरे इसके ज्यादा रहता है, वो सबको रिजल्ट पे रिटर्न करता है, वो रिजल्ट में आ सकता है। दीज आर ऑल द डिफरेंट लेवल ऑफ values that we have in place, and then okay. Let us try to balance between the different, and I will try to explain for both the peoples, like sorry about my Hindi. Let us No, this is not the first lecture of data structure and algorithm. It is just an array related stuff. Okay. To answer your question, Rahul, and yes, interviews will be in English, and this is not a data structures and algorithm course altogether. Now, to answer your question, Janya, and the interviews will always be in English, and we need to focus on that. Okay, let us move on with the topic that we are covering, and then let us go to the last, the other array that I have. I have a condition that value which are greater than 650 will get greater than and will get listed over here. We have it over here 700 and then 50, it will be displayed over here. And then there is one more find index. We have n number of utility functions which are okay. I will try to address your questions. And then why use double? Okay, that equal to is an array functions, like arrow functions that reduces the line of code, and then that is used, the callback functions that we write here in an ES6 format, which we have over here reduces the line of code writing a function, callback functions, and then in an old callback format. Now with the advent of ES6 with JavaScript, we use the arrow functions. That is a standard, and the pros and cons of the things can be covered later. That outside of this topic, we will cover that once we cover this. And also, okay, difference between equal to and triple equal to is like we use double equal to compare the values, but when we use a triple equal to, the type of the values, the type is in the sense the boolean or a string or a data type, true or a false, or if it is a float. If we use a triple two and it is using like a strict variable and a good quality of coding, if we want to compare any values within an if condition, we use triple equal to rather than using the double equal to. Yeah, sure. I will write the code. I have one more project which I have over there, and then explain you the code over there. And just I was explaining you here, and then I have a sample project over there which shows the chart and the data, and then I will explain you all those aspects over there to add to your point. Yeah, and I'm seeing. Sure. Yeah, we'll address your point. And then let us see the next function, like the salaries dot find index. This is nothing but I can open a Chrome right now and then do the same function, and then we'll get listed over there. We can try to answer your question. Let me open the Chrome browser altogether. We can have either of the things. And then what's okay, you are not able to see the data over here. Sorry about that. And then okay, let us see here only. That's why I was skeptical about that. Okay, we over there, and then salaries dot find x, and the value, the callback function with the value will be the value which it iterates. The 600 will be the first value, and then the index will be the 0, 1, 2, and altogether the array will be passed as the last one. And then if the value is equal to this, then it will return the 700. This 700 will be checked for this array value, and then for every individual array passed here, and we will check the index of it, and then that index will be returned to the result variable. That's where we are seeing the 1 over here, because 0 in an array, consider like we will be having an index of values 0, 1, and 2. For the salaries array, in an array we will be having 0, the first element. Everything will start with 0, 1, and 2. And then going to the next one, like copy within, like these are all, like once we go deeper dive into the JavaScript, like it is very easy to add these values and then get displayed over there. And now copy within 2, 0. Now we have it over here, and then this gets copied like the 600, 700, 800, and then the 0 index will be copied to the second index. 600 will be replaced to the 800 index. Now we are having copy within this array. We have a function to swap the values. Like once when we write the business logic in a real world application, we will be having many use cases to use these utility functions that has been exposed by the ES6, so that we can explore JavaScript in a beautiful way. And also when it give the 0, 1, that will be replaced here, and we will be having the IDs in the same way we have listed over there. And once when we get into the week map and collections, if we have declared an ID, and then if we iterate through that, and then if we want to get the entries, then we will be having the index and the value. This id dot entries will list you these array values. This triple dot is an spread operator that gets returned from this function. id dot entries will spread these all these into multiple parameters. Sure. I'll explain in the Chrome console. Now, let us do this exercise in the Chrome console so that we will have a better understanding. Now, console.log of the .id .en entries. If we do, it will list the same way what we have seen over there: 0, a and to 1, b and 2, c. This is an eligible candidate for iterating through the array and then getting the index. Like once we iterate here, like this id dot entries can be put in another array and get the IDs index for that every individual array. Like in a employee list of databases, we can add every individual and then associate the phone number. Those are all the real-time examples that we can carry out and then have it over there. And okay, 1 minute, let me zoom in. Okay, the lower part cannot be zoomed in this. I'm not able to zoom the part. Sorry about that, guys. I will take a screenshot of this and then I will add it to the chat so that you guys can download, and then I will upload it so that will be helpful for you guys. The thing what we are seeing over here is like the salaries, like the ID. I am okay, guys. Okay, I got it. Once you guys are able to see, please do let me know. Okay, in that the length of, okay, good. Now here the length is 2. What it is defined over here is that this array length is defined over here, and the prototypes here are, these are all the values that we are seeing now over here. This we can, any array when it comes, let us go deeper diver into this concept and then understand more here. Whatever the array we declare over here, consider if we declare this is a prototype. An array is a class that is defined at the browser level. This for any array, if whatever the value we pass with index base 0, 1, 2, or with the strings or any of the data types we value, we can associate these inbuilt functions to it, like the fill we have covered, and then the concat, the constructor, and copy within, which we saw it here right away, and the find index, and the for each we will use in many cases, and then the keys, and the last index of the value. Like for example, let us go this id dot index of, it will return us that value 2. This is the one which we have. For any array, if we use these values and then pass the values and then make the most out of the array class that we have over there. If you want the values and then unshift is the value, like we can go over here. ID will have these values and then ID dot, we will shift. Now ID will give us the value, like it reverse the values and then shift the values. In the same way, we are having includes is also checks for the value which we pass as an argument, so that the value that we are passing exists inside that array or not. And then for loop is the one that we loop over the every individual array and then get the individual array and then we can do that. Now for each of row and arrow function, console dot log of row. Now all these values will be listed A, B, C. This for each iterates. Now in the ID, we are having A, B, C. If we use this for each and the every individual values inside the for each will, the row will get, and it will iterate for all the n number of values that we are over there, and that will be listed within the console.log. And also we were going to the reverse. Now inside this ID will be having ABC. See, this reverse will reverse the values. This function, the ID dot reverse, we have defined this ID. This ID is an array of values which is A, B, C or C, B, A or any values. If we use this inbuilt function that reverse, if we call that function, then it will reverse the values which are inside that. And there is a sort, and we can use ID dot sort. A comma B. Okay, and then return B minus A. Okay. See, this one is like we will be having now if we do now there's something problem with this, like it will be we need to write for ascending and descending. There is some logic. For numbers it will actually sort it in this way. Now we are using a string, we need to do a character wise concatenation, and then we need to do that will return us. Let I if we pass these values and then to this function, then B minus A this will return the values in the descending order. The same way, if we do A minus B, will give the values in the ascending order. This is one of the function that we are using it over here, the sort one, and then the toString will array will be used. The number dot toString we can use this will be concatenating all the individual values within that particular array, and then we will be listing out if we have like close together all the values that will be concatenated to one particular string, and the values are appended like we go into the every individual array and then attach the value with the comma separated, and then the string, the implementation of the string, if you want to understand, we can write in one more function and then return, get the every individual and then plus comma and then go iterate to the next one, attach to the, and then return that particular array altogether. I will show that. This dot toString is the implementation, the internal implementation of the toString, like the sort internal implementation. I showed it over here. It does like a comma b and then a minus b. If we want to sort the values in the ascending order or a descending order, these are the values that we are seeing over here. And then join is if we have two array, we can join two arrays over here, like we have id over here and then number over here, and then id dot join of, now it is joining the all the two one, like for the string we are joining the number, like id was CBA and then number was 139. Now we are joining these C and 139 and all these things, merging it into a single one and then putting it in a array for all these things, C139 and then B139 and A. All these things are concatenated and then listed over here. This is also one of the function. Then, okay. Now let us go to the other part of whatever we are, most of the cases we have covered to local string and then toString, the unshift values, and then the values will be listed over there. And then for push or pop, like if we are having id.pop, it is a stack. It will pop the, now if we do id, we will be having only CB values. Consider an array stack values. Stack is the values that will be having one top the top of the another. If we put insert the values A, B, C, the last one will be the first one to exit. That is the place how we put the values inside an array. And there are different data structures that we are having. A linked list one is an array, and then we associate add in one more array, and then have a reference to it that will be a doubly linked list, and then linked list will be adding a reference or address of this to the next one, and then the address of this to the next one. That is a linked list. Inside an array, whatever we add the values that get added on top of this. That's why we have the stack dot push. Push is like adding here. Pop is like coming out. Now if we put id dot push of A, then it get added over there. And then now if we enter the ID, now we have CBA. That's how, like if we push, it will add at the end. If we pop, now if we do ID dot pop, the A will come out. In the sense, A is here, B is here, C is here. Now in this case, CBA. We added A here, popped out A here. And now if we do ID dot pop, now C will come out. Okay. Okay, Vidyasagar, like now, okay, now we are having id dot local string. Oh. It got stuck here actually. Yeah. Now we add ID over here to local string it is a localization. Like here we in my it is a string that the local string, like the browser level, what is the data type that we are using, that in that format, like it will put it in a string format. And we are having all the other concatenation also, the it concates the values, and then the copy within we have, and entries we just find out like what is the index. Like to show here, I had it over there. Now we'll use to, for the betterment of the value understanding, we will use our learning to understand, like now ID is having CBA. Now we were looking into the whatever what we wanted to ID dot entries. Okay, the entries part, ID dot. No, we need to put it as a spread operator. This is one of the we need to pass it to this log function. Console.log is also a function where we need to pass the parameter to list that values, and this console log will pass that return object to this console, and that will contain the first one index. What is the index associated to it, what is the index associated to this, and what is the index associated to it. Like consider this, since we are here for the betterment of understanding, we are having the window is a global JavaScript objects that we are everybody as a developer, JavaScript developer, should have an understanding on this. And then we need to, like, window object will have all these attributes all together. Now if I type window.alert and pass hi, it will show the hi over here. In the same way, the JavaScript, you can run it anywhere, and then that level of flexibility has been available for any developer to exploit the JavaScript environment and then run our code. And then so that's this JavaScript is used in the front end, so that we will have an access to have a control over to this browser, and then the HTML and the document object model that we have over here. With the help of JavaScript, we can go and extract any of these values. Like now we have here document is the object element by ID, and then if we pass we will be getting this attribute just with the help of this document is also the global object that we have over here, that will have all the elements that we are displaying over here, and then that get an access. And then with the help of this utility function get element by ID, if we type dot get element by ID and call this over here, it will have nothing. If this implementation is in such a way that we should pass the parameters to that particular prototype, whatever is over there, and then can we, yes, we can pass an array to the alert. If we pass dot that will be displayed as an object a comma no, 1 comma 2 comma 3. We can pass an array of values. Let us try that for your understanding in the dynamic way. See, to answer Anjali, we passed an array to this alert, and the value whatever we have passed 1 comma 2 comma 3 get listed over there and get over there. This alert is in with when you start using it in our framework level, we will be having a different level of implementation of the alerts with a bootstrap framework. We can put it as a model and then we can use it, but this is a plain alert that the JavaScript browser allows. We have a different flavors of this alert with the different flavors of frameworks that we have available in the market, and then that get customized. But to answer your question, yes, we can pass the array and get listed over there. And we covered the document object also, like the document is over here, and then with this dot get element, in the same way that we saw the array, for this empty is an array. This array altogether, there is some problem. Yeah, this array, whatever we listed over there, we are in a different console, I guess. Okay, yeah, the array which was initially displayed over here has an accessible to all these utility functions. In the same way, the document also has the inbuilt functions associated to this, so that we will have a level of exposure, like in the same, these are abstracted from the outer world. Like we will be able to use the functionality, but the internal implementation we may not be. Yeah, Satvik, sorry about that. Like since most of them are comfortable, like we can. Yeah, like to help you out now, this ये सारे functions दिख रहा है, ये सब array use कर सकता है. If we want to try using this array with these functions, you can exploit all the functionalities that the JavaScript as a language is exposing, and then you will be in a state to understand more aspects about it. That's with the help of console. And let us move back to the other explain keys. And also we forgot the keys. Keys is like the key value pair. We initially had 0 1 2, and now like the entries was having 0 and 1 2. Keys is the 1 and 2. The indexes are the keys actually. And then the values, if we want the values to be displayed over there, we can have it listed A, B, C. If we, with the help of spread operator, if we use it and pass those values as a function to a console.log, that gets hold of this parameter that we are passing, and then list every individual A, B, C values over there, and then that shows out in the console. Array buffer is the buffer. It's an extended part of this topic that we are using here. Array values, array buffers. Like now, let us look at the root buffer and the typed arrays and the arrays. Buffer is simply an array of 8-bit bytes, and for type arrays, 2 arrays that we are having. We may not talk about any of those types. We are only talking about the numeric types, and these types are arrays exist on top of the array buffers. So we will be able to get the size of integers and floats. And let us see some specific examples. So we are creating a new array buffer and we are passing 1024. Well, like out buffer to byte length. Now, what do you think? Like it's gonna show on the console, like it should show 1024. So we pass an array buffer of length of a new byte array, and then these are 8, and they suggest like 8-bit bytes, and we will create a new buffer with a slight of 1024, and you can use the bracket notation and all those stuffs we will be using. And then if we pass for that particular the first value, and then with these two, like we are setting a buffer 0 to hexadecimal FF. It is an hexadecimal FF, and then we will log out the buffer 0. This consoles 255. So we use bracket notation on array buffers, and just as we would as a normal array. And here having a sample of 255 decimal. So once we have an array buffer set up in the 8 bytes, and we have an, okay, I'll explain you what is a prototype. Prototype is like you have a particular one class, and then you, with the help of prototype, you associate the functions to it, the capabilities, you extend the capabilities. Now you create your own class array 1, and then you add a prototype like sorting, and that function should receive the parameters that we are passing and return you that function. Now the array is itself given out by the JavaScript. Like in the console, if we have a array, it will be in the same way how we have window or document. There are few global objects that we have already defined. So they are extending the capabilities of that particular classes with these functions, utility functions. Altogether, we can call those utility functions. And like how we have, you create a class car, and then the run for, you have an instance variable for wheels and other things. How do you use run? Then you rotate those wheels, like the number of rotations per meter, and then that run will be the function. That is the capability that you are extending that for the car. In the same way, for an array, you have all these utility functions. We use those utility functions to get the most out of the array class, and then use it in our business logic to implement those for the betterment of the UI and the first process. With the help of ES6, still the engine runs faster on that note. And that answers your question, Rahul. And now we are, since we had that array topic over here, we are having an integer of 8 array, and these are all the signed int, and then the size of the array that we have over here, float 32-bit array, float 64-bit array, and all these things. We can use, these are all the globally exposed parameters, and then we can run this new array and then console.log of in our browsers that list out the values which defined over there. For the betterment, and we have, like I have created one sample application for you guys with the help of most of the cases array, and this is a list of chart. I have used the chart library over here, and then the pie chart also will be displayed over here, and then what is the sales for the October, November, December, and then what are the list over here that we will pass those parameters, the array of values, so that can be used over here, and then those values are getting displayed over there. Let us go to the code now. Once you guys have any issues with this page, the index.html is nothing but is an document object, the thing which we have saw over there, like it is a row of values, and then the yearly revenue, monthly sales, and the department sales over there. We are associating that the canvas monthly sales and then the department sales in the two different parallel of values, and that for this canvas is like the chart we have defined, and then that get displayed over there. We have used extensively the array here, and then and getting those values over here. Now the department monthly sales chart, and then the department sales chart we are over here, and then for the chart, this is the pie chart, and then this is the normal bar chart we have over here, defined over there, and then the values which we are passing to this particular chart altogether, the library, we are passing the whatever we have defined, like we are getting the document, the ID over there, and the canvas with 2D two dimension, and then we are passing the ID for this particular chart, and then that gets automatically displayed over there, and we are associating this chart to that particular place. And for this particular chart class altogether, we are having an array of values that get passed over here, and then we are using an array which the sales values over there, and then we can use these monthly sales values and then the monthly labels values. These are the array that we are using, that these values, our chart function gets access to this, and then we might in the internal implementation of the chart library, we might need to pass an array and in a specific format. This chart is altogether, we are the HTML5 chart, so only it is not, otherwise it would have went into our library method, and then we would have understand the dynamics of this applications. Now we are using like the resetting, the filling the values of 0 values for that particular, if you want to reset the values, and then the we will be updating the chart. Like these are all the functions, like find over 1000, what is the index of the element that is greater than for this monthly sales, like for each year add year total, and then we are passing the year total, and then we are having passing the add year total function. For this particular add year total function, whatever we have it over there, it gets the parameter x, and then it adds the value to the year total, and then returns this wherever we are using. But I have commented out this initially for trying it out, and now for every monthly sales we are passing. For each monthly sales will have an array of values, this 500, 900, 3000, 4000. For each gets every 500 first row, 500 plus 0, 500. Now 500 plus 9000, 9500, and then the 3000, 12500, then 16500. Everything will be returned to this monthly sale values, and then that monthly sales value will be reflected over here. And then these are all the labels for this particular monthly sales chart, and then the monthly sales labels that we have over here. First is 9000, and then this 5000, and then the 3000. And this is a department sales like that we have over here, and then we can add one more value, customer name for the new sale, name 1, and then enter the amount 500. This is for running, and then that get added over here, but that is not reflecting. And then if we do okay, sorry, something is happening. If we add a reset, then everything will be, and then if okay, nothing is having find over 1000, there's no value for that, and that value is getting displayed over there. This sums together altogether all the JavaScript, and the array is extensively used in all the places in the JavaScript. Once we write some small simple application to the complex applications that we have over there in the market, like array plays a major role. Like for every addition, very simple calculation, the basic placeholder of values, and then iterating of those values, and then listing of those values in the UI. Like when it comes to the retail e-commerce, we will pass all the items or a dress or grocery items while displaying it in the UI in an array, and then iterate every individual array, and then list all those array in the browser. That's a very simple mechanism where we use this array. It is core and the crux of the JavaScript that we should have an understanding about, and then for a betterment of understanding, we need to understand the implementation of all those sorting and other parameters, so that helps you in your career, and that helps better in your attending the interviews, and then passing the writing the coding exams and all those places. This is one of the pretty basic data structure that we have covered how to use it inside an JavaScript technology. Yeah. If you have any questions, other will wrap up the meeting. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for your understanding. If you have any questions, like how you felt about the this session, please feedback based on that. Sorry about the Hindi guys. Like we will have an understanding about all the things, but better you you should have exposure to the English while attending the interviews and other stuffs. You should speak out in what understanding the internal implementation for you to better understanding about those things. You should get to more about the native knowledge, and then but get exposure to the English and then understand it with the same language so that it helps you in the interviews. And also spread operator, what is the use of spread operators is like once when you start using the ES6 part of with within the frameworks and other parts of it, like the spread operators, like on and fly you update and like consider an object having a name, address, and then the age and other stuffs. Once you iterate having an array of objects, once you want to update with the latest value, if with the help of spread operators within an object, if you do a 3 dot and then update that individual object to name, then that's get overridden on that. Now we will have over here, and then now this spread operator will spread these values name, Akash, and other thing at age to 28, and if this overrides the already existing name over here, so that altogether the object will have a name Adarsh and age 28. Okay. That is the one straight away example of how you use the spread operators, Rahul Upadhyay. Okay. Thank you guys. Please give a feedback based on how you understand the topic, and then thank you for your patience and understanding. Thank you all. Thanks, Kishore. Thank you, Uday. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Neha. Thank you. Thank you. You can. Thank you, Mohit. Thank you all. Yeah.